Next, we will continue to study about. Next, we will continue to study about Joseph. Okay. Let's take a look at Joseph. After he was sold into Egypt, he was sold to the household of Potiphar, captain of Pharaoh's guard in Egypt. And so, because of Joseph, everything he did in Potiphar's house pleased God and earned Potiphar's favor. Because God blessed Joseph, let Joseph endure the years of suffering. Potiphar. Because God blessed Joseph, everything Joseph did prospered, was successful and prosperous. So Potiphar greatly loved Joseph and appointed Joseph as steward over his entire household. He entrusted Joseph with managing everything he owned. Potiphar handed over all that he had to Joseph. Potiphar never questioned anything Joseph managed. But Joseph himself was very handsome. So one of Potiphar's wives persistently spoke to Joseph, "Sleep with me." Joseph refused Potiphar's wife. He said to her, "Look, my master has entrusted everything in this house to me and does not concern himself with anything. He has placed everything he owns into my hands. There is no one greater in this house than I am. He has withheld nothing from me, except you. Because you are his wife, how then could I commit such a great evil and sin against God?" He said, "How could I do such a great evil and sin against God?" So he would not commit this sin. Unwilling to sleep with a master's wife. Later, one day, a Potiphar's wife did this every day to persuade Joseph to sleep with her. But Joseph refused. One day, Potiphar's wife grabbed Joseph by the hand and seized his garment. At that time, there was no one else in the house. Only Joseph was there, along with Potiphar's wife. Potiphar's wife grabbed Joseph's hand and said, "Sleep with me." Joseph left his garment behind and ran outside. At that moment, Potiphar's wife, the mistress of the house, intended to frame Joseph. She held onto Joseph's garment. Since Joseph kept refusing, unwilling to commit sins with him, she held onto the garment, waiting until her husband Potiphar returned, and then accused Joseph. Later, when her master came home, she said to her husband, She told her husband, "This Hebrew whom you brought here, he actually came to me trying to flirt with me." I screamed loudly, and he left his garment behind and fled. She deliberately framed Joseph. So Joseph was thrown into prison by his master. Thus Joseph was imprisoned from that time onward. But we know Joseph had not committed any sin or offense against God. Therefore, even though Joseph was in prison, God still caused Joseph. He prospered in prison, earning the warden's favor. The official in charge of the prison. Did the warden of the prison show compassion to Joseph? Everything Joseph did prospered. So the warden entrusted all matters to Joseph, everything under Joseph's care. God blessed Joseph because God was with Joseph, so everything he did prospered. This passage describes Joseph's suffering in Egypt. First, he was sold into Egypt. Later, he was falsely accused by his master's wife and imprisoned. Yet whether during his time as steward in Egypt, he received abundant blessings from God. Unexpectedly, at this time, Joseph was greatly blessed by God, even while in prison, causing Joseph to be in extremely adverse circumstances. In such a situation, it was Joseph who, in extremely difficult circumstances, so that he could gain the warden's favor. Moreover, everything he does is perfectly reasonable. Thus, we understand that as long as a person upholds righteousness in God's eyes, God is with him. Then everything he does will prosper. Amen.